Good, happy Saturday morning. It is Saturday, August 27, 2022. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this Saturday morning edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Saturday morning, so let's get started right now. We are following two breaking news stories in Concord, New Hampshire that happened overnight. Let's get to those two breaking news stories in Concord, New Hampshire right now. With more on that, Amy Cavino has more on that from WMUR News 9.
Breaking news out of the state's capital this morning. Before 1:30 a.m., flames breaking out at this structure on Rumford Street. Bow Police confirmed to News 9 one of their units was called to this scene. It's not clear yet if anyone was inside when this fire sparked. We're working to confirm. More information, we'll bring it to you as we get it. Also breaking out of Concord this morning, one man is in the hospital with life-threatening injuries after a shooting at Eagle Square. Concord police say this happened around 1 a.m. at the intersection of Main and Capitol Streets. They believe all the people involved know one another. No word yet on any arrests.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And we will keep you updated on those two breaking news stories for you. Stay with the Riley King Network for more updates on those breaking news stories. EPA looking to crack down on PFAS chemicals under new federal Superfund law. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
The power of the Weather Channel, now available to everyone.
This is epic!
Trusted live coverage when it matters.
The EPA wants to designate the two most common PFAS as hazardous substances under a federal Superfund law, which would force companies or municipalities to report how much of the chemicals they emit. This would help the EPA hold them responsible for cleanups to protect public health, as PFAS have been shown to cause cancer.
They sort of have a responsibility here, though, because, if you look back at the history of this, they let this go on years and years, after, probably decades after they knew that it was a problem. So I think that the least they can do is the most they can do, right?
Dr. Dean Schenkel is the town manager in Amherst, an area where well water has been contaminated by PFAS from firefighting foam.
We haven't used it for over 20 years, so this isn't an issue. We're not doing that.
But those PFAS remain in the environment because they do not degrade over time. Amherst has been working with the state and with Pennachuck Water in recent months to replace contaminated wells with new water lines. Schenkel says he's happy the EPA is taking this step and thinks it'll make for a safer environment in the future. But he has some concerns about the costs of cleanups, especially for municipalities.
But obviously it's going to be a phenomenally expensive, as it shows up more and more, it's going to be an amazingly expensive thing to clean up all these wells that seem to have it.
And the EPA says the proposed changes will be published in the upcoming weeks. After that, there's a 60-day public comment period before it then becomes rule. We're live in Amherst tonight. Scott Cook, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Five COVID-19 deaths announced Friday in New Hampshire. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
In New Hampshire tonight, the state is announcing 145 new COVID-19 cases and 5 additional deaths. 92 people who have tested positive are in the hospital, 29 of them receiving COVID-specific treatment.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. New Hampshire lottery experiencing cyber attack. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Well, tonight, the New Hampshire Lottery says its website should be restored within the coming hours with new security features after it was hit with a cyber attack this morning. The lottery says hosting provider was attacked with this, which led to the creation of a pop-up ad or a banner to try to get users to download and install a file. Cybersecurity experts say attacks just like this are really on the rise.
If those automated things that are running around the world 24/7 find something, it's going to hit them. And, we've been seeing a lot of government sites that have been hit. In the last 2 years, ransomware has gone through the roof, web applications, all kinds of things are being hit.
The lottery says anyone who downloaded that file should delete it, and if you were prompted to provide your iLottery login and password, you should change that password as soon as that site is back up.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Hampton police, Maine man accused of stealing car with woman and infant inside. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Police responded to Hampton State Beach around noon Friday after a pair of 911 calls. Officers then determined that just under the north side of the Underwood Memorial Bridge, a man stole a car with a woman and baby inside.
Had immediately taken off southbound on Route 1 towards Seabrook at a high rate of speed.
At a light in the area of Ocean Avenue on Route 286, police say the woman was able to put the car in park and told the suspect she was calling the police. The man then got out and ran.
The Seabrook Police Department was able to locate and apprehend him based on the description.
The man in custody is 46-year-old David Tays of Baldwin, Maine. He faces 4 felony charges, including 2 counts of kidnapping. Tonight, we met Bill Page, who says he saw Tays before the incident happened.
Definitely something off about him.
And says he had an interesting interaction with him.
There's a bench up at the end of the road, and he was sitting there. He asked me for a cigarette. I said no, and then he asked me if I wanted to meet Leonard Skinner. And I just kind of walked away at that point. He said, well, if you see him, tell him I'm sorry. And I walked away.
Page says this is usually a very safe area.
It's just crazy that it was here. Like, that's not something to think about out here.
Now, Tays is being held in preventative detention as of right now, and he's set to be arraigned Monday morning at 11 a.m. at Rockingham Superior Court. Live here in Hampton, Troy Lynch, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Happening today, Chaos and Kindness Sky Show expected to draw thousands to Manchester, and it is happening today. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
What was once a Queen City tradition is coming back in a big way tomorrow. For the first time in nearly 10 years, Sky Show is happening at Arms Park in Manchester. Thousands expected for this free family event. It features bands from around the world, and it's presented by Chaos and Kindness. And in staying true to their form, it's going to be big, including what's expected to be the largest fireworks display in state history, all choreographed to live music.
Yeah, well, it's a free event, right? So it's free for anybody in the community, but you also get to give back to the community. And it's been a rough couple of years for a lot of people. So they'll be able to come outside and end summer in a positive way. It's really exciting.
So we are downtown Manchester. We're using Arms Park, which is their parking lot. So the coordination of the city entities was actually great. Everybody was on board and ready for this event.
If you do plan to attend, they are asking you to bring a backpack and school supplies, which will be given to kids around the state next week.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Seems like a fun event. And also happening today, this evening, Saturday night at the Village Store. Dinner and live music or dinner to go. 5:30 to 7 p.m. Saturday, August 27th. Live music by Pointless Culture, previously known as Harrison Squad, at the Ackworth Village Store at 1068 Route 12 3A, South Ackworth, New Hampshire. So if you're interested in hearing some music from Pointless Culture, previously known as the Harrison Squad, check it out at the Ackworth Village Store in Ackworth, New Hampshire. Fed chair interest rate hikes will continue until inflation comes down. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
She was supposed to be the one. I used to believe in the one. And then I realized there's plenty of savings in the sea. Amazon has daily deals that shake your soul. What? I'll go check on those tater tots.
Powell said the labor market is strong but, quote, out of balance, and he made clear that the latest inflation report was not enough to secure confidence that inflation is going down. Powell calls high inflation a global phenomenon, but says the Federal Reserve is responsible to achieve price stability in the U.S. and, quote, we are committed to doing that job. Chief economist at Morning Consult, John Lear, is here to help break this down a little further. John, it sounds like Powell is preparing the public for another interest rate hike here, which could make everything from homes and car loans, credit card debt, all of that more expensive. Talk about the impact here and what sticks out to you from these remarks.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dan. I mean, I think prior to this speech, the real debate was whether or not the Federal Reserve was going to raise interest rates by 50 basis points or 75 basis points. So there's widespread consensus that the Fed had more work to do. Over the last few weeks, financial markets increasingly have started to believe that the Federal Reserve would raise interest rates by 50 basis points as opposed to that more aggressive 75 increase. And it sounds to me like Powell is sort of explicitly coming out and trying to defend or leave open the possibility of being more aggressive, despite the fact that we've had some encouraging numbers recently, or I should say at least encouraging trends as it relates to inflation.
Now, John, he talked about not only current inflation, but the public's expectations of future inflations. Why is that so important?
It's absolutely critical because over time, as consumers, workers start to expect inflation to become higher in the future, it changes their purchasing patterns, it changes their job search activity, it changes their wage bargaining strategies. You start seeing more and more workers demanding higher wages, which in turn drives business costs and ultimately results in higher price inflation. I think you also start to see a sort of a hallmark of a period of hyperinflation, which we're by no means in a period of hyperinflation, but in a period of hyperinflation, you would start to see consumers front-run spending. They'll buy things now with the belief that prices will go up dramatically in the future, and that in turn can have a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right, because all that buying then creates more inflation. So what are some of the biggest factors you think contributing to inflation in the United States right now?
It's widespread, and I think that's in fact what's so concerning. Whereas inflation and the inflation story originally was concentrated in a few sectors, particularly these sort of pandemic-affected categories, it has spread to a broader range of goods and services. And in particular, it started to hit these core service categories. And I'm thinking really about housing and shelter in that sense. That's concerning from the perspective of policymakers because it means that it's going to be more difficult to get inflation under control. If it were really just used cars and gas prices, those would come up and then eventually come down. Something like services and core services in particular, those tend to be stickier and require a lot more work from policymakers to get those prices under control.
Got it. All right. John Lear, thank you. We appreciate the analysis.
My pleasure.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for...
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. That does it for this morning edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. Thank you for tuning in and watching. Have a great day, everyone, and goodbye.